everyone, I am Stephanie, an artist living in Vannes, France, and in today's video I'm going to share with you my thoughts and process of my latest sculpture, Ancestral History. Now before we dive in, this is not going to be a full-on tutorial as I rarely do those on YouTube. However, if you are interested in the exact materials I am using and just learn more in depth on how I sculpt, I have a Skillshare class where I teach just that. Now this sculpture I made for a group show in Melbourne, Australia for the gallery Bine Art. And it's a gallery I've been working with quite a lot lately and with whom I have a solo show planned next year. I really like to work with them. They're super nice, they're really friendly, they have a great selection of artists, and I'm just always so happy to be part of their group shows because every artwork they have is just gorgeous and I just feel really proud to be among all these artists. So they asked me to participate in a group show that is called Small Works, and they specifically wanted a book sculpture because the solo show that I'm going to be doing with them next year is going to be about books. Because last time I worked with them on a book sculpture, the book sculpture had a bit of a breakage. It was my fault, not enough armature. In any case, the sculpture got restored, everything was fine, the collector was still happy with it. However, they really wanted, so John from the gallery really wanted me to do another book sculpture just to kind of test the waters, especially since next year I'm going to send in a lot of book sculptures, and so just to be sure that, you know, I can make something that is not going to break during transit. Especially shipping to Australia is usually more difficult and more brutal on any packaging, probably because it's really the exact other side of the earth. I'm not too sure about that, but in any case, book sculpture it was going to be for that group show, and I had a lot of ideas for this one, but in the end I decided to do a very similar book sculpture to the one that broke with an open book, and after some thinking I decided to go with a jellyfish. So sometimes I do a lot of thinking and really research what type of animal or what type of plants I'm going to do. Or sometimes I do a lot of sketches up front to kind of find what I want to do. So this is not quite the case for this one. I mean, of course, I work all the time and I've been working on books quite a lot. So I've done already a lot of sketches on books. In that sense, you have to take this into account whenever I do a new artwork or I create something new. In a way, there are years of sketching and practice and doing all the sculptures and paintings that go into the new artwork. But specifically for this sculpture, I didn't do more sketches than that. It's not the first time I do a jellyfish sculpture, however, last time was in 2015, I think, and I actually have a YouTube tutorial about the old jellyfish. Last time I did it with polymer clay because I used to work solely in polymer clay, but this time I used cold porcelain. Basically, cold porcelain is the equivalent of polymer clay, however it's air dry clay, and as you know I prefer air dry clay. Polymer clay, I'm so over it. So jellyfish isn't something that is new to me, neither in terms of sculpture nor in terms of drawings. I drew and painted so many jellyfishes, and jellyfishes are on the easy side to comprehend and to represent in artwork. So yeah, once I had my mindset on that one, it wasn't that difficult to realize or to create. And in terms of colors, I was really hesitant in terms of colors. I don't recall what I originally planned, but in the end I decided to go with purples and oranges, so something very vibrant and warm colors rather. I think probably because the sculpture just before that, so the one that you saw last week, the bird on the headphones, it was all in cool blue and green tones, and I just kind of wanted to do something different this week. So it's not that different. I tend to go back and forth between those gradients, so either purple, pink, orange, or green and blue. But sometimes I'm more adventurous, I guess. But when I'm on a tight deadline, and with those two sculptures, I certainly was on a tight deadline, I tend to stick with the color combinations that I know best and that I'm most used to doing. So yeah, that's kind of like that. I suppose most artists end up using specific color palettes. In that sense, I really try to not fall too much into just one palette and kind of explore. But I do tend to like gradients, so that's always here. And yeah, either rainbow, I'll pick like two or three colors. So yeah, nothing different here. And the rest is, as usual, some kind of growth, more seaside on this one, obviously, because of the jellyfish. I really like the corals and ocean beings these days. I feel like I'm really drawn to them and have been for a long time, actually, but it's been very consistent. It's consistently coming back in my work. And sometimes I kind of want to do something else and just my hands decide on their own, if that makes sense. I'm actually doing another big project right now. I just started last week and it's going to be human-sized. So I don't want to spoil it too much for you. I already started filming and it's going to take a few months, but I probably will show you a bit of it just so, because I'm very excited about that project, to be honest. And it's going to be full scale, really big sculptures, and it's going to be more coral reef themed than anything else. I'm very excited about that. I also really enjoyed working in a much bigger scale. Sometimes it's nice as an artist, to change things. So I tend to like to switch between sculpting, drawing, painting. But within sculpting, it's nice to go from very small to very big, and the same applies to painting. It's really nice to explore small and then to explore much bigger, and I feel that it's also important as an artist to grow, to experience different scales, as you will learn to gauge scales differently, and you're getting more perspective of your work. And it's quite a different approach often, and at the same time you learn about what is important to yourself as an artist, what is important in your artwork. And I think it's also just good for your brain to kind of change things. If you end up doing always the same kind of work, it just gets boring. I mean, of course, from your perspective, maybe I do always the kind of same things, in the sense that I'm very focused on nature and growing nature, growth, coral reefs, maybe mushrooms, plants, and animals. So these are I'm always coming back to the same themes. However, I do like to change media and size quite a lot. So work really small, big, in sculpture, in painting, in drawing, with colored pencil, acrylics, watercolors, and so on. And I find every time I switch the media, it kind of helps me to, it's a bit like a vacation, if that makes sense. I think my main art career is still sculpting. I really feel my sculptural work is the strongest from all my work, but whenever I switch to drawing with ink and painting with watercolors, for instance, or something else, just doing something different, even though it's the same theme, and it's still, I put a lot of thought in it and meaning, and I don't do it childishly, or not childishly, but it's not just playing. It's I'm actually, working to create artworks. So not just doodling. Doodling is important, of course, and I do that as well. Not very much, but sketchbook practice I think is good as well, but that's something else entirely. I just think when you put your mind to creating artworks, but not always the same type of artworks and changing medias. I think it's just really good and refreshing, and it changes, you know, it changes your perspective, and it's just good for your mental health. I'm not sure I make a lot of sense here, but in a way, it's what most artists will do that through a sketchbook practice. But I feel like I get bored with sketchbooks because I tend to use them just for reference. If I want, for instance, when I was working on birds a lot, I would do a lot of bird sketching as references in my sketchbooks, so I could rely on my sketchbook in my artwork. So I tend to use those references and not pictures when I work on my artworks. But when I really do something with thought, then I like to, you know, make it proper, because in the case that I do something that is good looking or that I'm satisfied with, then, you know, I'm more satisfied when it's a proper artwork than it's just a nice thing in a sketchbook, if that makes sense. So yeah, basically switch it up, you know. Don't, if you love painting, or if, I'm guessing you're more into sculpting if you're looking at that specific video, but as I paint a lot as well, you might, you know, like both. But I feel as an artist, it's really important to try different media and to kind of play with different medias, just because it kind of opens your possibilities, it opens your brain, and it forces you to think differently. And yeah, I think that's really important as an artist, because in the end, what you offer the most as an artist to the world is your own vision of, you know, nature, everything. So if you don't actively try to create your vision with different materials, you're never going to be able to truly express yourself through your art, because you don't have enough practice for it. That went really serious here today. Well, guys, that's that's all I have to say for today. I know there's still some minutes left until the end of the video, but I'm not going to force myself to say just anything. So I'm going to leave you with some music from Amarante. And yeah, you just have fun. If you have listened to me until now, please watch until the end. Yeah, like the video if you liked it, comment if you have something to add, or also just to comment. YouTube does like comments, the algorithm likes it. Subscribe if you feel like it, if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!